Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Today we'll be discussing whether or not Professor Albus Dumbledore picked out Harry Potter's friends for him. When it comes to the adventures of Harry Potter, it almost goes without saying that Harry never adventured alone. From the very first installment of the series to the final scenes of the Deathly Hallows, Harry was very often accompanied by his two best mates, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Having met Ron before even boarding his first train to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, while trying to access the magical platform 9 3/4, Harry and Ron became fast friends. They were, of course, then sorted into the same house, Gryffindor, upon arriving at Hogwarts Castle, and were, therefore, in all the same classes during their first year of school. Also sorted into Gryffindor House was Hermione, who, to be quite honest, did not quite fit in with Harry and Ron at first. Slowly, however, they all became tolerant of one another, ultimately considering themselves friends by the end of their first year together, and eventually becoming such close friends that they were almost like family. Whether these friendships would have flourished had these three been sorted into different houses remains to be seen, but I do think it's fair to say that it was due to their close proximity to one another during that first year that they all became such good mates so soon into their time at Hogwarts. Over the years, both Harry and Hermione became part of the extended Weasley clan, a family already so large that their presence at the Burrow, Ron's family home, seemed little trouble to his parents, Molly and Arthur. In Harry's case, having had no close family of his own, the Burrow and the Weasleys offered him the chance to experience close, loving relationships like never before. For Hermione, despite having had two caring parents, the fact that Mr. and Mrs. Granger were muggles likely made it difficult for Hermione to be at home, especially during Voldemort's second rise to power. Wanting to protect her parents, Hermione even magically removed their memories and sent them to Australia in 1997, making her relationship with the Weasleys and her ability to stay with them even more important near the end of the series. And so, while it seems completely obvious that these three friends, who have been dubbed by many fans as the Golden Trio, came to heavily rely on their relationships with one another, the question we are looking at today is, did someone else, namely Albus Dumbledore, decide that they would be friends in the first place? Now, for the most part, I believe that this theory is pretty far-fetched. There are countless questions that arise when considering exactly how Dumbledore would have orchestrated the trio's friendships. For one, you can't force people to like each other, so how would he have ensured they would become friends? And such good friends at that. Also, the sorting hat can't be swayed by outside influence, so how would he have made sure that they all ended up in the same house? An essential factor to Harry, Ron and Hermione becoming such close friends. That said, I do suppose that Dumbledore could have pre-selected students who were likely to be sorted into Gryffindor. I mean, at the time, there wasn't really a family as clearly Gryffindor as the Weasleys, what with 5 sons already sorted into that house previously, as well as both parents. So I guess Ron would have been a fairly good bet. And even if Ron himself had wanted to be in another house, which he didn't, the mere pressure of wanting to please his family likely would have been enough to ensure he would be sorted into Gryffindor, especially considering the following exchange between him and Harry on the Hogwarts Express during their first journey together. "What house are your brothers in?" asked Harry. "Gryffindor," said Ron. Gloom seemed to be settling on him again. "Mum and Dad were in it too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not." The riskier choice would seem to have been Hermione, as she was Muggle-born and had no family history to reference. However, knowing her personality and what she likely would want based on her assessment of the houses, perhaps Dumbledore did know something even Hermione did not. In fact, we even get a glimpse into her thought process when she shared the following with Ron and Harry on that same first Hogwarts Express ride. "Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I've been asking around and I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I hear Dumbledore himself was one, but I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be too bad." All that considered, however, we're still left with the question of how he would have ensured they became friends. Because, as we've discussed, Harry and Ron in particular, were not Hermione's biggest fans at first. In fact, Ron's immediate reaction after meeting Hermione was, "Whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it." Even after a month or so at school, things hadn't improved much between the boys and Hermione, which can be seen in the following conversation that Hermione forced on Harry and Ron. "Excuse me." They both looked up. It was Hermione Granger. "Can't a person eat in peace in this place?" said Ron. Hermione ignored him and spoke to Harry. "I couldn't help overhearing what you and Malfoy were saying." "Bet you could," Ron muttered. "And you mustn't go wandering around the school at night. Think of the points you'll lose Gryffindor if you're caught, and you're bound to be. It's really very selfish of you." "And it's really none of your business," said Harry. "Goodbye," said Ron. And that was not even the worst of it. Ron also went out of his way to insult her when he thought she wasn't listening. "It's no wonder no one can stand her," he said to Harry as they pushed their way into the crowded corridor. "She's a nightmare, honestly." Someone knocked into Harry as they hurried past him. It was Hermione. Harry caught a glimpse of her face and was startled to see that she was in tears. "I think she heard you." "So?" said Ron, but he looked a bit uncomfortable. "She must have noticed she's got no friends." The only explanation I can think of here that might explain how Dumbledore would have fixed this problem and ensured that the 3 students ended up as friends is the fact that they were in the same house. This would mean that they were forced to be in the same places at the same time again and again. Gryffindor Tower, all their classes, and every mealtime at the Gryffindor table. Perhaps he hoped that through constant interactions, they would eventually break down into friends, which of course they did. Which brings us to the question of why. Why would Dumbledore have picked Ron and Hermione as Harry's friends? Why not let Harry make connections on his own and find his own friends? The only explanation I can think of for this is the idea that Dumbledore, knowing the grave dangers that awaited him with the inevitable return of Voldemort, wanted to ensure that he had loyal, loving friends who he could 100% count on. This desire may have arisen out of a fear that Harry may one day be betrayed by a supposed friend just as his parents were. After all, the reason the Dark Lord was able to locate the Potters and kill both James and Lily was because they had trusted the wrong friend. They had made Peter Wormtail Pettigrew their secret keeper, since they had known him since their days at Hogwarts, and Peter and James had been part of an incredibly close foursome of friends that had been enviable to their classmates. So perhaps Dumbledore, not wanting the same thing to happen to Harry, decided to vet Harry's friends before he became friends with them. And who better than a boy from a house full of Gryffindors, whose matriarch had lost her brothers at the hands of Death Eaters, and whose patriarch was more than sympathetic to Muggles, and a Muggle-born witch with an intense do-gooder attitude. These two also helped to guide Harry throughout his years at Hogwarts in a way that was essential to his growth as a character, and helped him mature into the young wizard who was willing to sacrifice himself to Voldemort in order to defeat him. Specifically, it's possible that Dumbledore saw that someone like Ron, who grew up in a lively wizarding household, could help educate him on how to get on well in magical society, with Hermione taking on the role of ensuring that he continued his actual education at school so that he could learn how to properly defend himself in the face of danger. And with that, we've come to the end of today's video. What did you think? Did I miss anything? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.